in 3, 2. What's up, everybody? It is Moose, Garrett, and Boyle here from OccupyFantasy.com at Occupy Fantasy on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead and follow us there on Occupy at Occupy Fantasy. Again, I'm Moose at the bottom right of your screen. You can follow me on Twitter at CFB_Moose. I'll be the host for tonight's show. Brought on our two NBA writers to chop up the NBA slate tonight. At the top right of your screen is Garrett at GStroms99 on Twitter. How are you tonight, man?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Good, good. Doing well, thank you. And then on the left, we had him bring him back on. We're going to talk about something special about him later on in the show. But our other NBA writer, Boyle, at TBoyle24_DFS on Twitter. How's it going, Boyle?
It's going great. I haven't been on here in a couple weeks, so I'm very excited to get back to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I'm going to go ahead and get this tweeted out, get this posted in the Discord. Again, if you want to go ahead and join our Discord, go ahead and hit the join button down below. Sync your Discord and YouTube account together, and you'll be granted access to our server. So, let's jump into it. Garrett, I'll just ask you the quick question. I know we were talking about it before, but what's your overall view on tonight's slate?
This slate honestly is a little bit ugly. We have two pretty important injuries. One is especially important with James Harden. His game isn't going on. He's the last game of the night. So we might not get that news before lock, which could change the entire slate after lock. So that's kind of what makes it a little bit ugly. But also a lot of the pricing on the Warriors and Lakers guys has been moved up since the injuries have occurred to LeBron and Curry. So just that kind of stuff makes it a little bit more ugly than slates that we have had in the past few days.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'll kick this over to you, Boyle. And so how are you kind of handling it? It seems like if we don't have all the complete injury news, and it won't be till late. Do you think this might be more of a high risk night?
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, on nights like this, I try to leave enough salary where, like, let's say I play Harden, and then I also purposely throw in 2 to 3, maybe even 4 other guys from that game or games at 10 o'clock. That way, if something happens where Harden ends up being out, then I can just throw everybody like that I want back. Like, for example, in our if then, we talk about how Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, and Joe Harris all step up. So I would maybe want to include those three in there and take out some of the other options I had originally in my lineup. So I just kind of tried building two different lineups and just say, this is what happens if Harden plays. This is what happens if he doesn't play. Obviously, that's a high risk approach because you're probably going to leave a lot of money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how I play with this.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a high risk strategy for tonight. So let's just jump into the plug. Again, the plug is a little bit different for the second half of the season. We went back to our original badge emojis. And so I'll kick it over to you, Garrett. If you want to just talk about a position, I'll let you choose the position. I'll show it here on screen, and then we can just talk about it for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite one of the night is the small forwards. That is very popular in the mid-price range from around the 4, 5 to 7K range on both sites. We got Kuzma, Achimura, Porter, and Harris. Obviously, Harris gets a big bump with Kyrie and KD out, and then even more if James Harden is out later on. Michael Porter's just been really excelling in his role lately. You know, we saw a few weeks ago he was only receiving 24, 25 minutes per game, and now that's much higher. He has a much higher usage. So he's a good play every night at this 6.5 price range. Rui on FanDuel is really intriguing since he's only 5'2". Davis Bertans is out. And Rui's been playing almost 40 minutes a night, so that's been really impressive. And then obviously Kuzma without LeBron and AD, that gives him a really big boost. And even at almost 7K on DraftKings, he's still one of the better plays at the position. And then, I mean, if you want to pay up for Jimmy Butler, it's a viable option. Jimmy Butler is a triple-double threat basically every night now. His usage rate's through the roof. So we just love Jimmy Butler, and the matchup against the Suns seems tough, but it's going to be a closer game, which is something that we like for Jimmy Butler.
Okay. Neat, neat. Just scrolling through the positions, it seems like small forward is unique tonight, and that they have a bunch of mid options and not really much of anything else. So definitely interesting to see there. Boyle, I'll kick it over to you. What position do you want to talk about tonight?
Let's go centers. I love talking about centers.
Cool. So we have our 3 center plays here, and I'll let you spit some knowledge.
Yeah, so first off, we have Harrell. So in the last 2 games without LeBron now, Harrell averaged, I think it was about 38 and a half FanDuel points per game. He's also seen about 33 minutes per game. He's definitely a great option. Obviously, there's a price difference between DraftKings and FanDuel. We do love him on FanDuel, but even more on DraftKings. So next up, James Wiseman, probably the biggest question mark of the night because he hasn't played because of COVID related. They didn't really say. I'm sure he didn't have COVID. I'm sure he was just exposed to somebody with it. But he's back tonight after missing 3 games. Before he left, Steve Kerr actually said that he wanted to get Wiseman more minutes, and I think he ended up giving Wiseman like 25 minutes, 26 minutes in his last game. So if Wiseman ends up seeing that amount of minutes tonight, he's in a complete smash spot. We love him as our favorite center. However, we gave him the high-risk tag because we don't know what's going to happen because most players who come back from this COVID absence aren't really conditioned. They can't practice with the team. So coach probably will play him, I don't know, like 15 or 20. Most players, at least. I'm not sure how he's going to play Wiseman in this situation. So, again, that's kind of why we gave him the high-risk spot. And Jordan is just a safer option at that value spot. I'm just pulling up Jordan's numbers real quick. But it looks like, last 2 games averaged about 26 FanDuel points per game. He's just safe. I mean, he's doing what he needs to do to get 5 times value. And right now, if you don't have the money to pay up for Harrell, he's probably the safest bet down there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely some good options there in centers tonight. And also, while I have you here, Boyle, I know you and I were talking about it, and we think you and Garrett both are like absolute kings at the satellite strategy. And you track the satellite strategy. This is from last year. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on screen. I'm going to take away our faces, make this full screen. And Boyle, I'll just let you talk for however long you want to talk about how you crushed the satellite strategy last year. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that, and we will be back with our faces soon. All right, so Boyle, if you want to go ahead and talk about it.
Good to start?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. So basically, for those of you who don't know what the satellite strategy is, it's when you go out and target contests that get you into bigger contests. So on FanDuel, they run the Super Satties a lot, which is you put $1 in, and normally you can win like a $4 ticket, but these contests only fill up about halfway. So basically, it's a double up, put $1 on, and if you win, you get a $4 ticket. So I've been hammering that for the past, I want to say, year and a half now. Moose, is the spreadsheet coming up on the screen? Or?
Yeah, I accidentally hit the wrong scene, and so it should be up now.
Okay, no, I just wanted to, no problem. So, I mean, basically I started, my first big contest was last year in January. In this, I mean, you can kind of see profit and loss. I lost my first 2 tournaments. I had 72 tickets for the first one and 6 for the second. Ended up losing that, not too much, lost about $8. If I ended up buying in completely without using the satellite strategy, I would have lost a couple $100. So I mean, even if you end up losing with the satellite strategy, you don't lose a lot. It's not like you're risking a whole lot of money. So I guess the first big win that I had was with the XFL back last February. In this contest, I got 48 tickets. At the time, this was the biggest contest I ever got into. This was all off the satellite strategy. I only spent $92, but I had $432 worth of tickets. So, I mean, just off of profit and loss off tickets, that was $340. So, I was just seeing... Yeah, so, I mean, I have the last column here. I basically needed 50% of my lineups to... Is that this one? No, I needed 14% of my lineups, I'm sorry, to break even. So I needed 14% of those 48 lineups to break even. And
so you mean just to cut you off? So you needed 14.5% of your lineups just to min cash, just to break even, which is nuts.
Cash.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we go down. There's a couple other tournaments I did. I think COVID cut off two of them. I guess it was the opening day, obviously, and there was a big break because of COVID. And then, I mean, G can even talk about this one a little bit, but me and him both did the FanDuel Return NBA. We both ended up in first place, and we both cashed. Do you remember what the first place was? It wasn't 3,800, wasn't it? Like 3,300 or something.
I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was around 300. I want to say it was around 333.
Yeah, but so basically, I only spent $277 out of my FanDuel account, and I ended up with about $560 worth of tickets. So just off of that, it's over double the amount. Basically, I made $300 just off the tickets alone, and then needed, I think it was like 29 or 30% of my. This is very. I'm sorry, it's like kind of confusing. It's very confusing just because I never saw it like a spreadsheet like this before.
But it's your spreadsheet, boy.
Yeah.
No. But no, basically, so in that case, you needed the 33% of your lineups. Basically, the last column on the right is what percent of lineups Boyle needed of the amount of entries that he had to break even. So he needed 47 or 33.5% of his lineups just to min cash, just to break even. But hey, he didn't need that min cash. He ended up getting first in that contest. So that one really spiked his bankroll.
Yeah, and then just from there, just been small wins. I mean, for the DK NBA Millie, I think I only made about $100 off of. I had $416 spent. I had $925 worth of tickets. So obviously that's a lot of money in tickets. But I only ended up making about $150 on that. But it's just the small wins, and they add up. So every tournament that goes by, it's just I don't know, $100, $150, $200. I mean, it adds up. You take away that $3,000 one in there, and I'm still up. I was still up $3,000 last year just doing the satellite strategy, winning just $150, $200 a tournament. It's not even a lot. It just keeps adding up, and at the end of the year, you look at it and go, wow, I just made $3,000 off of doing this one thing. So, no, it's definitely changed my life. Even this year. This year I placed 5th place. I guess it was 2 weeks ago. And this year I'm already up $10,000 doing the satellite strategy. So
wow,
it's definitely you guys helped me out a lot. You guys opened my eyes to this, and very grateful for it. So
definitely, and just to show you again how important the satellite strategy is, your profit from 2020 last year using a satellite strategy was $6,895.88. If you entered those contests without satellite strategies, just enter it with the normal entry fee, your profit would only have been $1,826. So right there, by using a satellite strategy, you're giving yourself an extra, in this case, $6,000 profit, which is just absolutely bonkers to think about. So
again, it's just targeting those contests when they come up. I know FanDuel hasn't had them in a while, but the super satties, they never fill up. They're always like halfway, if that, for most of it, and it turns it into basically a dollar double up to win a $4 ticket. You go out and you spend $200 to try to get as many tickets as you can, and if you come out with 100, 120 tickets, I mean, as long as you don't completely whiff the big contest, you're going to come out with a profit.
And even if you do whiff, like you said earlier, that it's not going to be a complete bankroll drainer, because you're only spending a fraction of your percent. In theory, as we talk about in our bankroll allocation, you should be spending a fraction of a percent on satellites. So even if you do whiff and go 0 for 62 or whatever it is in your tickets, you're still not going to crumble your bankroll. So
Actually, can I share one quick story about that?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So the first tournament I ever did was that playoff game with the Titans. It wasn't this year; it was last year. It was when Derrick Henry completely went off in the playoffs, and I don't even remember what he had, but he was the leading scorer by far. So I faded him 95% in that tournament, and I still came out with a $2 loss. That was it. I completely faded the highest score by far, and I came out with a $2 loss. So that was probably the biggest whip I've ever had, and you could probably even anyone could have had, and I still came out with barely a loss. So
yeah,
it's definitely beneficial to start doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you have any questions about the satellite strategy, definitely go ahead and ask. Hit us up. We're more than happy to help you out with that as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring our faces back on. Make sure none of us are doing anything we shouldn't be doing on camera. So bring it back here, and I'll bring back up the plug. So that's a satellite strategy. I know Garrett, you do it as well, and you absolutely crush it. I think you two are probably the best satellite strategy people that I know personally. Just absolutely crushing it day in and day out. But we do have a question here. Garrett, I'll let you answer this one. He says, "What's your thoughts on Dwight Howard for a FanDuel GPP?"
For FanDuel GBPs, I could see Dwight Howard. The only issue is, we saw last game, I believe Howard's minutes were down. Tony Bradley actually got a decent boost in his minutes from what I remember. Um, Actually,
Nah,
no.
that was the game.
Oh, that was the game before. Sorry.
Yeah, that was game before. Yeah.
So, if the game stays close, I think Howard then gets more minutes. It really depends on how the game ends up. So if you're going with a close Sixers game tonight, Dwight Howard's definitely in play, especially with all the big men back for Golden State. Philly's -4, so yeah, I could definitely see it for Dwight Howard.
Cool. Yep. So again, if you all have any more questions, definitely go ahead and ask. We'll be here for about 15 more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna switch over to the model. I'm gonna bring up the model, and we'll talk about just some players here. Occupy model. Go to NBA, and if we look here, Boyle, I'll kick it over to you. I'm gonna sort by DraftKings ownership percentage, and we have a handful of people, 30+%. I know Harden has some injury news, but what's your take on some of these people that are 20+%? Is there anyone that kind of stands out from you on the other side where maybe you don't want to play as much as this guy as the field does?
Yeah, so I see Nicholas Claxton up there, and we actually wrote him up in the plug as high risk. Normally, a high risk player doesn't come with that much ownership. He's still coming off the bench. He's not seeing too many minutes. I mean, he's doing a lot in his minutes, but he's not seeing too much. And especially if Harden ends up playing, which I think right now, I mean, obviously the model has Harden playing, but especially if Harden plays, his minutes aren't going to completely spike up. There's a chance this game could still stay close, and if it stays close, he's still going to probably only see 20 minutes a game. So I mean, I would definitely go under on Claxton at 36%.
Definitely. What about you, Garrett? Is there anyone here in this range that you think it could be either way? You think you should go under the field or over the field on?
Yeah, the one guy that really sticks out to me at 20% now is Alex Len. He's such a hit or miss guy, but I feel like he usually plays a lot more against bigger teams that play their centers a lot. And the Knicks, they're going Randle at center plenty. Throughout the game. So, I mean, he saw 29 minutes last game, and then Len saw 18 minutes the game before, 24-18. So it goes really up or down. But he's such a hit or miss player. I tend to just fade Alex Len, especially in a game that's fast-paced. That's going to be like fast-paced against a team against New York that might go smaller.
Okay, cool. And a question here from Nick. If any of y'all want to take it, says, why do you think Harden's going to sit?
I mean, Harden was ruled questionable yesterday. There's been no word of whether or not that status has changed. So right now he is still questionable for the Nets. I'm looking right now to see if anything else has come out about him. But Kyrie and KD are out, and Harden's questionable. It wouldn't be surprising to me if they just sit Harden for one night with the fact that they don't have Kyrie. So it's definitely a possibility that he sits, but also Harden's a guy who just likes to go out there and play. So it's kind of still up in the air.
Exactly, yeah. Cool. So let's talk about on the flip side. I'm going to go ahead and use the Occupy model to filter out people who have less than, we'll say 20 minutes. And sorting by, we'll say 5% DraftKings ownership, and I'm sorting it down here. Kick it back over to you, Boyle. Is there anyone here that stands out to you that we probably should be going over the field on in this 5 to 15% range?
So I see DeAndre Jordan right up there. Are you? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. You're asking for players that are like 5%, right?
Yeah, I put it in the filter as
Like
5 to 15%.
Okay. Well, yeah, I see John Jordan right up there on the top.
Hmm.
Personally, I like him a lot better than Claxton. Just because he starts, he's safe to get a certain amount of minutes. Especially with Harden, him and Harden play a very good pick and roll game. He benefits by having Harden in the game. If Harden doesn't play, he's still going to see his own because his usage will go up. However, with Harden, it's not like he's going to see a negative. Um, he's not going to see negative usage by Harden playing. So I would probably go over 5% on him.
Cool. And what about you, Garrett? How about you? Is there anyone here in this group that you want to go over the field on?
Yeah, so there's two low risk options that I feel pretty good about that are under 15%. Julius Randle and Dennis Schroeder. I just think their ceilings are a lot higher than their prices. Even Julius Randle at almost 10K. He's basically been everything for the Knicks lately. And then high risk, honestly, like if you want to take a risk here, CJ McCollum, his minutes are going to start to rise up sooner or later, and it's a fast-paced game against the Nets. I could definitely see him exceeding his value.
Cool. So Boyle, I know you have to get out of here at 5:25, so we're probably gonna be ending the stream and here hard in a couple minutes. I'm gonna kick it over to you, Boyle. Is there any last thoughts or anything else that you want to say before we get up out of here?
Yeah, so basically just on the if then, we talked a lot about Harden, and obviously he should be the focal point. But Lonzo Ball is also questionable, and he sat on Sunday, and it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker who stalled a start and scored 33 fantasy points off that. So we really like him as a point guard. Is he a point guard, G, or a shooting guard?
I believe he's a shooting guard.
He's shooting. Yeah, you're right. He is a shooting. So we really like him as a shooting guard option if it falls out.
Nice. Awesome. And then Garrett, any last thoughts or anything else you want to add?
Yeah. I mean, like Will said, the big name tonight is James Harden. You should come up with, if he's not out by lock, if he's not out or in by lock, we recommend making a lineup that maybe does or doesn't involve Harden, kind of depending on where you stand on the situation, but having a contingency plan if he sits or if he plays. Because if you don't have James Harden and he ends up playing, you might want to get James Harden in your lineup. And if you have James Harden in your lineup and he doesn't end up playing, you'll definitely not want James Harden in your lineup.
Yeah.
So have contingency plans. That's something we always talk about with NBA because of all the injury stuff that happens. Last night I took a shot. Malcolm Brogdon was questionable up until after lock, and I just took a shot. I played TJ McConnell at point guard instead. Just took a shot there. If stuff ends up happening that might not work, I had a contingency plan in place. So make sure you have one.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, awesome. So thank you all for joining the stream here. We're going to get out of here pretty soon. I do just want to say again, if you like what you saw here tonight and you want to see more, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe and bell notification to be notified of any new videos or any new live streams that we do. If you really like our channel, you go ahead and hit the join button. That'll give access to our Discord channel for the monthly fee. Really awesome. We're always chatting up with our members and the staff of Occupy. Also have the DFS Magic Creator Jack, which is our lineup optimizer. Go ahead and always chat it up with him. So yeah, it's really great and valuable resource. I definitely recommend anyone do it who's serious about DFS. So until next time, and thank you all for joining. I'm Moose alongside with Boyle and Garrett from Occupy Fantasy. Have a good night.
See you guys.